As you can guess from my Reddit name, I used to work in a library. One afternoon we had a baby come in and approach the desk looking somewhat frazzled, asking if we'd seen her babies who she left there a couple hours previously. None of us had and said no. Of course, this set her off. How could we be so careless when we knew they were kids here? Why wasn't someone keeping an eye on them? The noise drew the manager from her office, and she told the woman that the sign says library, not daycare. So of course, this woman goes to call the police on us for neglecting the kids that she left there. Once the police arrived and started trying to figure things out, they called the woman's house. Turns out her babies were 14 and 16, had gotten tired of waiting for mom to pick them up, and walked home. Can't remember what happened from there, but I don't remember ever seeing her again. I'd be too embarrassed to ever show my face at the library again after that too. I mean, let's be honest, what's more embarrassing than referring to your 14-year-old and 16-year-old as your babies and then calling the cops because the librarian didn't professionally babysit them to the level of your standard? If that doesn't make you so embarrassed that you never go to the library again, I think that says a lot more about you than it does the librarians.
No sneaking, I got eyes like an eagle, stacking so much money you would think that it's illegal. I'm getting quiet now, lay low when you're rich, so I'm vibing out, making out, stack the bread, cause you love the sound, just...
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrubby here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today we're going to be taking a look at the subreddit Entitled Parents once more. You guys really liked the last one. It did the best out of any video on my channel in a while, so I figured I would do it again because, you know, I got to give y'all what you want. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
So, yeah, without further ado, let's get to some insane parents doing insane things and get into it. Press the like button or your parent's gonna act like this. My entitled stepmom let my stepsister break my birthday present before I got it and then tried to take the replacement back. I'm 14 and I really like steam trains, and my favorites are from Britain. My parents are divorced and both my mom and dad got remarried, and my stepmom has 2 daughters from another marriage, Kelly, who's 18, and Anne, who's 9. When I was 12, I started mowing lawns, walking dogs, and all that to get some money and start my collecting model trains. Since there's so many different models out there and so many liveries, I decided to limit myself to preserved locomotive and the liveries they're preserved in, and unique ones. This Christmas, my mom and stepdad surprised me with 4 out of the 6 preserved A4s. On my birthday, I asked my mom, stepdad, and stepmom, and stepdad for the remaining 2 A4s, Dwight D. Eisenhower and Sir Nigel Greasley. And my mom and stepdad got me Sir Nigel Greasley and the rebuilt W1. I went to my dad's the next day and saw my dad, stepmom, and stepsisters. I opened my gifts, and when I was done, my dad went and brought another bag out. I pulled out the tissue paper, and there was a model train inside. I pulled it out, but before I could look at it, it fell, and I looked at the box, and the back was ripped out. I showed my dad, and he looked confused when my stepmom chimed in. Oh, Anne threw a tantrum, so I let her play with that last week. I looked at the model, and the paint was scratched, and the side rods were bent, and one of the axles was cracked too. I was pissed that she did so much damage, and my stepmom just put it back in the box. I was pissed since I don't have much there, and the little stuff I do have, this girl is broken. I angrily asked, why do you let her break everything of mine? And my stepmom said, just get over it already. I snapped and said, I will when you stop letting Anne be so spoiled and start being a better parent. That pissed her off, and she called me an ungrateful a-hole, and I asked my dad to take me home, and he did. I talked to my dad a little on the ride home, and he said he'd get me a replacement. He came with a replacement today after school with my stepmom and Anne. I thanked them and my dad made Anne apologize. I felt awkward because I had nothing to talk about, so I asked if they wanted to watch me run it in. They came to my room and my stepmom saw the other 5 A4s in the W1 and started to flip out that I wasted their money, and she tried to take the model from me. My mom and stepdad came in, but before she could grab it and ask what happened, my stepmom told them I wasted their money and I already have models like the one they got me. My mom tried to explain that it looks similar, and it's part of the same class, but my stepmom wasn't having it. My stepmom tried to grab it again, but my stepdad intervened and kicked him out, and my stepmom started to make a scene, but my dad seemed embarrassed and quickly said, let's just go, and grabbed Anne and my stepmom's hand and pulled them to the car. Imagine having to explain to like a grown-up that a collection means that stuff can look kind of similar but also be different, dude. Like, I don't collect trains. I don't know any clue what an A4 is. And that being said, I could understand that there's probably different versions of the same train and you kind of need to collect them all to have the entire set. bet? Because that's how any basic level of collecting ever works. Also, imagine getting angry at a kid for having a birthday and buying him a gift. Oh, you made us buy a gift that you already had a version of? I hate you. So what? They said they wanted it. If it's like what they knew they wanted, why are you a grown-up trying to steal their birthday present back from them? I feel like that's really weird, bro. I was pregnant with my first child, and since I lived in a different state than my parents, my dad thought it would be a good idea to fly my mom out to be present for the birth so I could have some help in the week after. My husband wasn't thrilled at the idea, but thought it could help me ease into the transition to parenthood with changing diapers, sleep, and all that stuff, so he obliged. My dad stayed behind at their home because he's building it and used the excuse of the house building deadlines to say why he couldn't be there as well. He intended to come out for 2 weeks after my mom did to swap the help once she returned back home, taking shifts so to speak. Well, I get induced for delivery on Friday night and go through an intensive labor where after 29 hours, I'm 9 centimeters dilated. The baby won't come out, the vacuum doesn't work, and they give me an emergency C-section. The baby's delivered at 5:30 a.m. Sunday, and throughout the entire process, my husband has made it very clear he wants to stay with me the entire time due to the amount of complications. However, my mom makes it clear that she doesn't want to stay and forces my husband to chauffeur her multiple times from the hospital to the house, stopping to run errands like buy shoes, buy groceries, etc., and my husband's upset. By the time we return back home with our baby, it's clear my mom has been invasive with our home. She's gone into our personal bedroom, pulled wires, cables, anything she can get her hands on. Her complaints increase about the lights in our home being too bright and the brand new rug we bought being too dusty, and she has an infinite amount of experience with newborns and we should listen to her instead of the midwife. And after pulling cables from the outlets on furniture, my husband snaps at her, and he asks that she can leave everything alone to just go get some sleep, and hopefully she can change a shift with him so he can get some rest too. I'm unable to move to help him and bedridden due to the extent of my surgery and recovery. She gets upset and proceeds to go downstairs to the guest room and stays there for 2 days without speaking to anyone. And her reclusiveness gets so bad that I try calling and texting with her since I can't walk, to no luck. I call my dad to see if he's spoken to her, and he brings up that he changed her flight to return back home earlier than anticipated. I figured it was because of her squabble with my husband, and my dad assures me it's for needing signatures on the house build and that he isn't aware that my mom and husband have argued. Knowing she's leaving early, my husband and I now set up all the baby furniture in the room. The setup works easier for me to help out as minimal as I can and also prep for my mom's departure. Well, after 2 days of speaking to no one, my mom finally decides to come upstairs and in the process is having a major fit. She begins saying that my husband and I are not very socially inviting and proceeds to call my husband all the names in the book. This includes telling him that he's hoarding the baby, a coward for not leaving the bedroom while she's insulting him while he's feeding the baby, and she begins to scream at me that I won't allow her into the bedroom and she can no longer help and she will be leaving that same day instead. Cue stomping and slamming doors. She ends up finding her way upstairs with her luggage and right out the front door, where she starts yelling at our neighbors that we're psycho and approaches another neighbor's car to ask if they'll Uber her to the airport. In all of this, she manages to call my dad and cry that my husband and I accosted her for helping rather than hear me out or listen to my version of events, and my dad immediately blames my mom's meltdown on me, that I should have been her better host and allowed her more time with our 5-day-old baby so she could be a proud grandma. My husband ends up texting my dad that my mom's out of line in the situation and needs some kind of mental help. Rather than me understanding of that, he begins to get irate and get belligerent on the phone, saying he can no longer look at my husband the same way, and how dare my husband say anything about my mom to him. Let's disregard my mom disrespecting us and calling us name, and glosses over the entire reason why she left early. That night, I found out my mom announced my birth to our extended family for me. I didn't even get a chance to tell anyone by publicly posting a bunch of photos of me giving birth on the bed and posting it to all the random people on Facebook. None of it's private either. I messaged her and my dad to please tell them to remove it as they were taken in an insanely private moment. The next day, I get another 2 texts from my parents and they asked if I hacked into my mom's Facebook to see the photos she posted and used some kind of government technology to get access to it, and how I did it. If it was criminal, they'd report me to the authorities. Now, I have many hills I'd die on, but hacking a Facebook page is not one of them. And if I were to go to jail for something, it wouldn't be for my mom's internet photos. I'm not sure how amazing she believes herself to be or why any parent would accuse their child child of being criminal enough to want to do something so stupid, my guess is as good as any. I call my dad to ask why he'd even entertain such a stupid suggestion from my mom, and he backpedals before rage quitting the conversation and hanging up. Honestly, I'm so over my family and their years of poor treatment, and I'm just glad my husband got to see I wasn't making things up regarding my mom's temperament, and I definitely won't be hiding the skeletons in the closet for them if anyone asks why I no longer speak to my parents. They're ridiculous people and can keep their tinfoil hats on for all I care. It's just a shame that making a situation as beautiful as a birth to be made once again about them. This lady just seems absolutely bonkers, dude. How dare you be hoarding your baby? It's like, dude, they had it 5 days ago. It's still kind of new to them. You might want to let them enjoy it for a bit. Seriously though, man, like this is something that I feel like a lot of parents don't get. You don't own your kid. Like they're their own person. If they have their own baby, if they're married, you don't get to just barge in and take whatever you want. They're not just your property, dude. My goodness gracious. I love how she was like yanking her luggage out the door. They're crazy in there. I'm just saying, you seemed a little bit more like the psycho one, storming out, freaking out, screaming at them for wanting to hold their baby. My entitled parents felt me give birth. Yeah, I know this sounds so stupid and I completely agree. I'm no contact with my parents, but one of my sisters and one of my brothers due to drama my dad caused a while back. So I was 39 plus 6 weeks pregnant when I had to go to the hospital for reduced movements of the baby. I had to be induced the following day, but was left in slow labor for 3 days in the hospital before they could break my waters due to labor and deliver due to the ward being too busy. All the wards in my city were the same, so a transfer wasn't possible, and this in and of itself was incredibly stressful. Eventually though, they break my water and started off with gas and air. It lasted nearly an hour before I asked for an epidural. Ladies who do it natural, kudos, you're strong, but I don't cope with pain especially well. So with the epidural, for the most part, I felt nothing and slept through labor most of the day. There was instances when the tube moved and I felt pain in my left side. Eventually, I was rushed for a C-section because the little one's heart rate kept dropping. Fast forward to 2 days later, me and the baby are still in the hospital on antibiotics, and my sister and I, that I still talk to, calls to me angrily. Why didn't you tell mom you're in labor? You could have died for all we knew. She's heartbroken and she wasn't there to see her first biological grandchild be born. What are you talking about? We haven't spoken in over a year. I tried when I was pregnant to talk with her and she wasn't having it, so why would I have told her? Because she's your mom. She wouldn't have been able to come anyways. COVID restrictions mean only my partner was allowed and we can't even have visitors apart from the birthing partner. Have you really just called me while I'm sat in the hospital to have a go at me? Blame mom for not fixing this sooner. Well, she didn't want to talk to you while you were pregnant because she didn't want to stress you out. So she wanted to wait till now that I have a newborn. I don't think so. Too little, too late. How did they find out anyways? My brother, or your brother, told dad, who told mom, and dad told me you were screaming for mom while you were in labor. I didn't scream once. I only cried when they told me I was having a C-section. No way my brother said that to dad. He's not that dramatic of a liar. Well, that's what dad said. We then moved on to lighter topics and she ended the call. I only still talk to her because even though she sticks up for my parents, she respects the boundary that we don't talk or send them pictures of my baby. Although I haven't sent her yet any in case, I don't really trust her fully. I called my brother up afterwards and asked him what was said and told him what I heard. He got very cross and said, "You know I never said that." He was picking me up from work and going on at me about something stupid, so I told him you had the baby to show off that I knew what was happening with you. I know I shouldn't have done it, but I lost my temper with him and I'm sorry. But I never said you were screaming for mom. I said it would have been nice for her to have mom there when she had her first baby. To be honest, bro, she would have just stressed me out. You know what she's like. Yeah, I know. Well, he told me that he thought you might have had her because him and mom had really bad stomach cramps the day you were in labor. Said it makes sense now that it was sympathy pains. F right off. He never did. Do they know I barely felt anything since I had an epidural? Swear they like to make things up about themselves. I totally believe him. We've always had this sort of relationship where we're honest no matter what and talk it out rather than fall out. Opposite of which the rest of my family does. We realized my dad was trying to rile up my mom to start more drama, and he chose not to contact them any further. He said if my dad contacts him, he'll address the lies my dad told and tell him to do one, but so far my dad has been smart enough to stay away. My sister came to visit my baby and tried to convince me I'm a horrible person for keeping my baby away from them, but I stand by no contact. Also, that's also why I don't trust her fully, and I wouldn't be talked down to my choices regarding my baby. They can't treat me with respect or even nicely, so I won't allow their toxic selves revolves around my sweet baby. So there you have it. My parents felt me give birth when I was in labor. Yes, they are crazy, and please read the previous story just to see how much so.
Your mother and I felt you give birth. It was a disturbance in the force. Our pain was immense that day. We knew you were in a lot of it.
Yo, that's crazy, dog. I was on so many drugs, I don't even remember it, so it's weird that you would. That's basically what went down there, dude. I'm obviously not a woman, I'll never give birth. That being said, I've heard that an epidural is a very, very strong combination. I mean, if it makes you not feel the pain of giving birth, it's gotta be pretty strong, right? You know, like that's gotta be something that you'd think you'd remember.
Oh, yes, our connection through the force with our daughter is impeccable.
Not really, dude, because she was not having the pains you were feeling. My mom threw away half my clothes while I wasn't home. My mom always tends to be overdramatic and entitled, often using the "I pay for everything you have, it could take it all away" argument if I try to disagree with her. But we recently got into a fight because I just couldn't keep my mouth shut. She's always nagging me to get rid of my clothes because I have a lot of them. Not a strange amount, it's just my closet is small, they don't all fit there, and my dresser is also overflowing. But I pay for all of them and I love all of them, and they're not hurting anybody. Most of them are nice and pricey too. I grew up around my dad's family and they've always been lower middle class, so I never had nice clothes, but now I buy myself nice clothes regularly because I love being able to afford them and I love wearing them. However, she says I don't wear all of them and I need to get rid of them, which is hypocritical because she spends hundreds of dollars a month on clothes and also has more than she could ever store or wear. Lately, I've been working a lot and doing school, so my room has gotten a little bit messy, and I decided to clean it and noticed that I was missing a ton of clothes, some stuff that I loved and wore all the time, and I was able to write a list of specific items I was missing and everything. I told my mom about it and she said, "Wow, that's crazy, we'll have to look for those. They're probably somewhere in the house." A few nights ago, she was at work and I was looking for a shirt I wanted to wear to a party. I couldn't find it anywhere and I was getting stressed, feeling like I'm going crazy because all my clothes were gone and nobody knew where they went. I asked my stepdad about it and he told me my mom had gone through my rooms weeks ago and bagged up a ton of clothes indiscriminately, saying I would never notice and I had too many and I should have listened to her when she said to get rid of them. He told me she made him take 2 bags full to Goodwill and while she was bagging up another one, and he said that he had been waiting for me to ask because he didn't think it was okay and wanted to tell me. He just didn't want to tell me directly because he promised her that he wouldn't. I was livid. I went through her room to see if there were any left and I went through the entire house. Nothing. She got home and I was crying, an absolute mess because some of the clothes she got rid of were sentimental to me and she's mad at me for being mad and calling her out, saying I know what she did and there's no use trying to lie about it. I told her I paid for my stuff and she had no right to get rid of it and she was so entitled it didn't even make sense. I told her to stay away from my room and anything that I paid for with my money because it's not her business, and if she touched my things I'd move out and she'd never see me again or our dog. She absolutely despises my dad and his family, so I threatened to move in with them and never speak to her again, and then I left. She had 1 bag of clothes yet she hadn't taken to Goodwill yet, and she put it in my room while she was gone, but it wasn't enough. I wanted it back. Not just the few she scrounged up, and she probably took about $300 to $400 worth of clothes. Clothes that I worked hard for to be able to pay for, and then got mad at me for accusing her of stealing, but what else would it be called? She hasn't apologized and she's not yelling anymore, and I'm not down to forget this ever happened though. I told her it's not her business what I do with my money and she needs to butt out and I expect an apology. Alright, yeah, that's how the rules go. If your mom doesn't like what you're buying, she has the right to take it all and give it away. Obviously, I'm kidding though, but I don't know what she really expected in that situation. If I just give away $500 worth of stuff my kid paid for, they're gonna be really grateful. I don't think anyone in that situation would appreciate you just rummaging through their stuff, even if you didn't give it away. But going through somebody's stuff secretly and then giving half of it away, that's a big way to make sure everybody hates you. And then on top of it, you know, don't accuse me of stealing. Well, what would you call going into my room, taking all my stuff, and then literally giving it away? Would you not call that stealing? You know, it's like that scene from SpongeBob with Patrick's wallet. This is you. Yes. This is your ID. Yes. In your wallet. Yes. So therefore, this is your wallet. No. Basically what went down there. Anyways, guys, I think that's gonna do it for the Entitled Parents. That's all I can really handle. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I'd really appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought. And of course, be sure to subscribe if you're new and turn on those notifications. If you really want to help me out, I'll put a link to the intro song down below, along with a link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast. Or of course, you could use code Scrubby at the G Fuel checkout. It's a great way to get a discount on G Fuel and help me out at the same time, so be sure to do that. In fact, it's going to be 30% off if you use code Scrubby from the 27th to the 30th, so yeah, be sure to use code Scrubby. It's extra right now. And the last link that you're gonna find down there in the description is a link to my merch store, so feel free to go get yourself a t-shirt. I would appreciate it. But yeah, on that note, guys, that'll officially do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.
Get it jumping, I'm just trying to get some hands up. I've been thinking, yeah, my mind is pretty jammed up. No, I'm immature, but I don't want to man up. And no, I don't do emotions, I just clam up. Got some people that I know don't really like me.